Okay guys, there. In short, I'm going to describe how I review games. Okay, so this is the 1.0 version of my approach. I'm not really choosing the games I review up front. I do have games, or my game selection for long plays is rather set for a long time because I usually play longer games. I need to change that title, honestly. But for reviews, it's usually when I'm in a good headspace and I play a game where I come across a lot of things where I think that, hey, this is nice, or, hey, this is problematic. So I'm not necessarily sticking to the usual suspects like graphical fidelity and how well the game runs and so forth. If it's up to standard, like it runs as most of the games, or if it's not something that's interesting to talk about, then I'm not choosing that item as a category for my review. On the other hand, I don't really have a set number of categories to pick from, so if I find 6 things to talk about, then I'll talk about 6 things. If I find 12, I will talk about 12 things. I will try to be constructive in my criticism, so if I see an alternative solution that would be better, I will try to show it as, like changes to the graphical user interface or whatnot. I'll try to show them, since in my day job I'm doing peer reviews on stuff and tester at heart. In general, I'm a person who wants to help bring the product, whatever it may be, to its best possible version. So willing to give, positive and negative feedback. Scoring is, I don't want to go with the default scale. I know that might disqualify me from the usual aggregation sites, and I don't mind that much, since, I'm not doing this as a day job. This is a hobby. I'm quite a perfectionist on the other side, so I really put a lot of work into these. I'm not interested in, getting on aggregation sites, whatnot. I want to be as honest in what I do as I can. So what I came up with is partly inspired by the Lore Runner, who's an amazing YouTuber streamer. He does scoring where he adds positives and negatives for different aspects of the game. So I took this approach and put it on steroids, so to speak. So I score each category from +3, -3, and net 0 is also possible. So, if the category is interesting to talk about, it still can end up scoring net 0, which would not move the end scoring. It's just an indication that, hey, this is something I would like to talk about. So net zeros are also possible for each category. Note that in general, the overall score can give you some indication as to what I think about the game. So you can technically create like a, the maximum possible score, maximum negative score I can give, and a percentage score. I might do that in the future. I think that adds value, but it's mostly for statistical purposes, and it's not like for like comparison. So I don't really like doing those. But in general, the more net positive or net negative a game is, then that indicates, net 0 is an average game in my books, or in my scoring, and the score is always out of whatever. So yeah, what I hope to get from the scoring is that people will take a look at the individual sections, because I do this as well. If there is a TLDR version with a score on a page, then my eyes naturally gravitate to that section, and I don't want to do that. I would want my content to be the main piece and not the scoring at the end. Like, I do want to have a conclusion where I sum up the whole experience, but, and like, a scoring is an integral part of it, so I will bring up the overall score each category has with the conclusion, so that you can take a look. But I would like to encourage with this approach that the users will actually go into the video and take a look at the different categories, different sections, and actually enjoy the content. And I also really want to provide feedback to the developers, since I know that I won't reach big enough viewership to have impact on sales, but I do think that there is value added with this content, and I really hope that I can help the developers at least with providing some feedback, some critical feedback, and focusing on the minutia. Like there are a lot of review sites, and I know that generally the type of experiences I will review will not get that big of a coverage like big games do, since I tend to select more smaller indie titles for reviews. I do believe that my feedback would add value to those indie developers, and I'm hoping to add that positive feedback and to be a positive influence on the gaming world at large, and add my few drops into the huge ocean of gaming as it is. Usually I'm reviewing games that are out for quite a long time, and I do include version information as well, so that you are aware that, okay, which version does this pertain to. What this would be also good is to get late reviews on the games, because again, like today's review cycle in gaming is, if you get reviews, you get them early on in the release, or if there is a first like pre-alpha version or like a development version that's available to the public, you'll get a review on that. If ever we are moving more towards these like influencer based, like moving away from reviews. So I'm hoping to give a spotlight to the later version of the games as well, so that the reviews are more useful to the users if they come across them late in the life cycle. Mostly I will do reviews that are pretty mature and are pretty polished, are late in their life cycle of updates and whatnot. I'm hopeful that these reviews will be useful for customers that come in as well, in the future, and pick the review up before picking the game up. I will include all the information regarding purchases and whatnot. I'm a really small fish, so I don't get games, and since this is a hobby of mine and not really like a day job, I have a decent income, and I spend a decent amount on gaming each month, so I have a huge backlog of games and a good catalog pick from for each reviews, and I just never know what will catch my eye and what I will be able to review. So, and it's very important for me to be in the right headspace as well, provide good critique and good feedback for the game. So these might be very far and few between, since again, like this is just a hobby and not a day job of mine. So be aware of that, and I won't probably do requests, since it's just a hobby, and I want to feel good while I'm critiquing and while I'm creating the review as well. And it might be a long process. I take a lot of time. I do everything by myself, so with creating all the graphics and whatnot, a review might take much as like 16 hours or so to write the script, polish the script, record the script, do the graphics, and do whatever recording I need to do. So even more than 16 hours. I'm trying to go for longer form stuff, around like 10 to 20 minutes, to cover well what I want to cover.